The galaxy had once burned with stars of promise. Now, it burned for real. In every quadrant, smoke billowed from shattered moons. Planets once rich with life now drifted as charred husks. The Cathar swarm, cold, calculating, merciless, spread like a black tide. They consumed everything, not just resources, not just life, culture, memory, hope. The coalition of species, once a proud alliance of over 30 alien civilizations, had become a cornered animal. Supplies were dwindling, morale had cratered. Entire systems were lost within hours of a Cathar incursion. Their hive mind coordinated perfect assaults, adapting faster than any known military intelligence. General Zorlith of the Takven Confederation stared at the holographic map. Red markers bloomed faster than he could blink. His tentacled fingers trembled. Zorlith, grimly, "We are not at war. We are at extinction." The other commanders didn't argue. They couldn't. The truth was etched in every fallen world. Even the mighty Drathari, who once thought themselves invincible, now begged for reinforcements. None came. The swarm moved too fast, fought too ruthlessly. The coalition had the tech, they had numbers, but they lacked something primal, something unpredictable. And the Cathar, they feared nothing predictable. The door slammed open in the coalition's war room. All eyes turned. Some narrowed, others winced. Captain Riley Grant strode in like she owned the place. Combat armor scorched, left sleeve torn, a smirk on her lips. Blood, definitely not hers, streaked across her brow. Riley, grinning. "Heard you called a meeting. Figured I'd crash." General Zorlith's eye stalks recoiled. "Zorlith, you were not summoned. I don't wait for invitations, not when you've got a damn apocalypse knocking." She wasn't like the other commanders. Where they stood still, she paced. Where they calculated, she gambled. Her record was a chaotic mix of miracles and madness. She once flew a cargo freighter into a battleship engine to disable it, then stole its reactor core. Humans called her a hero. Aliens called her a problem. But nobody could deny one thing. Where Riley went, survival followed. Somehow, even if half her team limped home and the other half cussed her name. Behind her reckless charm was a core of steel. She had seen Earth burn during the first Cathar raid, lost friends, lost family. Since then, she'd decided one thing. If death wanted a fight, she'd bring the bigger bat. It appeared like a shadow blotting out stars. The Cathar world ship. Not built, grown. A titanic, biomechanical organism the size of Jupiter. Its surface writhed with millions of Cathar warriors, living extensions of its will. Spires rose like sangs. Energy siphons drained planets dry in hours. The world ship didn't attack, it devoured. System by system, without pause, without mercy. Coalition AI, flatly. Projected impact in 4 standard days. Planet Rethka will not survive. Drathari Commander, we'll lose our outer defense line. Zorlith, we'll lose everything. Nothing had ever stopped a world ship once it committed. Entire navies fell in minutes. Communication jamming, gravity warping, biological hacking. Every defense turned against itself. And now, this one was heading for the heart of the coalition's remaining stronghold. There was no time for diplomacy, no room for error. The choice was stark: fight an impossible battle, or vanish from history. The council met in the silence chamber. No noise, no tech, no external signals, just cold decisions. There is a plan. Every head turned. Drathari High Priestess, please clarify, plan or eulogy? We insert a strike team deep inside the world ship, sabotage the hive core. Gasps, hisses, silence. Torak, Vunari strategist, that's suicide. It's logic. One chance to sever the mind, kill the queen, collapse the swarm. They debated for hours. The breach points were near impossible. The defenses, insane. Even if a team made it inside, the world ship would adapt. It always did. Coldly. It's better than waiting to be eaten alive. No volunteers, just fear. Until the doors opened again. Riley, casually, "I'll do it." Everyone froze. "Drathari, you misunderstand. This is not a mission, it's a grave." "Graves don't scare us. Dying while doing nothing? That does." Her team stood behind her. Grizzled veterans, cybernetic specialists, combat engineers. Not elite, just human. "We'll need 5 minutes inside that thing, maybe 3, long enough to jam the core." "Zorlith, you won't survive." She shrugged. "We've done worse." Murmurs, disbelief, but something stirred in the chamber. Attention cut by sheer absurdity. Torak, disbelieving. "This is madness." "No, this is Tuesday." The aliens didn't understand, but something in their eyes changed. Maybe awe, maybe fear. Behind closed doors, the alien commanders argued again. "Drathari, she's reckless, chaotic, a wild card. Exactly what we need." They pulled up her dossier. 39 confirmed missions, 12 near suicides, all successful, all unconventional. She didn't follow orders, she followed instinct, and instinct had kept her alive. Torak, she cannot be trusted. Zorlith, softly, neither can the Cathar. They debated tactics, weighed odds. In the end, there was no better option, or rather, no braver fool. Orders were signed, codes authorized, and across the coalition, one message pulsed. The humans are going in. As Riley prepped her gear, an alien medic approached, hesitantly offering a charm for luck. "You may not return." Riley, grinning. "Nah, we've done worse." The squad laughed, nervous, tired, ready. They boarded the stealth ship, old, patched, barely legal. Riley looked once at the stars beyond the glass. Riley, quietly, "Let's go ruin their day." The hatch sealed, engines roared, and the galaxy held its breath. Riley entered the high-security chamber like she owned the place. The room was cold, not from temperature, but from the mix of fear and tension hanging in the air. Arrayed before her sat the representatives of the coalition, the insectoid Zharn, the crystal-bodied Vikari, and the telepathic Cyrene. They radiated unease, their alien eyes locked on her like she was both weapon and liability. "The Cathar hive ship is on approach to Sector 9, began General Varn of the Zharn, his mandibles clicking in controlled panic. "It will reach the populated colonies in under 5 cycles. We must sabotage it from the inside." Riley didn't flinch. "The Cathar react to psychic intent," said Cyrene advisor Talera. "Even thinking about harming them will alert the hive. One stray violent thought, and they will strike first, psychically." A hologram of the hive ship materialized, massive, grotesque, pulsing. It looked like something born from nightmares and molded with purpose. "You're sending us into a beast that knows we're coming the second we want to fight?" Riley asked. "It is suicide," whispered the Vikari ambassador, voice like cracking ice. "But there is no other way." She looked at them, aliens who had mastered light travel, energy manipulation, and nanotechnology, but who still turned to a human when the mission was too insane for logic? Their fear made her smirk. Riley popped a piece of gum in her mouth, slow and deliberate. She rolled her shoulders like she was about to go for a jog, not dive headfirst into certain death. "Sounds like a Tuesday," she said, loading a shell into her shotgun with a satisfying clack. The room went still. The Zharn blinked rapidly. The Vikari shimmered with anxiety. The Cyrene looked outright nauseous. "Do you not grasp the suicidal odds?" asked Talera. "Oh, I do," Riley said, eyes gleaming. "I just don't care." She grabbed her gear, turned toward the hangar, and whistled a cheerful tune. Behind her, the alien leaders whispered nervously. One muttered, "Humans are mad." "Yeah," the Zarn general said, "but maybe madness is what we need." The dropship hummed with tension as Riley met the crew. Corporal Maceo grinned at her, chewing on a piece of jerky and nodding to the row of explosives he'd already prepped. "I call this one Boomerang. If it doesn't blow up the first time, it loops back." "Remind me to never stand next to you," Riley muttered. Then came Dr. Vrix, a pale, lanky alien with translucent skin and large violet eyes. He tilted his head as he scanned Riley. "You confuse me," he said. "You are reckless, illogical, yet you survived more death zones than most trained tacticians." "Thanks," she said, "I think." Next, Sergeant Holloway. Quiet, eyes like granite. He nodded once, heavy with meaning. Scars lined his arms, old burns, shrapnel wounds, signs of survival. "He doesn't talk much," Maceo whispered. "He's seen too much." "Good," Riley said. "We need someone who's used to hell." They prepped in silence. The humans worked with calculated chaos, the aliens with cautious precision. Each method clashed, like oil and water. Vrix kept observing. "Your methods are unpredictable," he said to Riley. "Yeah, that's the point." The mission wasn't just about blowing up a ship. It was about proving that human insanity might be the only thing crazier than the monsters they were about to face. The ship's bay doors opened. Nothing but darkness and the pulsing red light of the Cathar world ship greeted them. They jumped. Silence greeted their fall. Then the sound, wet, pulsing. The walls of the hive ship were alive, flesh-bound to metal, wires like veins pumping some unholy mixture of blood and electricity. The moment their boots hit the ground, Riley's gut twisted. The floor was soft. "Why does the floor squish?" Maceo muttered. "Because it's alive," Holloway answered, eyes scanning the gloom. A shriek cut through the air. Cathar drones, all claws and psychic whispers, surged toward them. "Light 'em up!" Riley yelled. They responded without hesitation. Lasers, grenades, shotgun blasts. Drones dropped, but more came. Always more. Vrix screamed. "The ship feels us! We're stimulating it!" "Yeah," Riley shouted, reloading, like a root canal with a chainsaw. They pushed forward. The hive was trying to consume them. And yet, the team moved like a blade, rough, deadly, human. Flames roared. Maceo stood in the corridor, flamethrower gripped tight, cooking every drone that came within range. The air sizzled, alien flesh bubbled. "Reminds me of rush hour in New Chicago," he said, chuckling. "You are burning sentient life forms," Vrix said, ducking beside him. "Yeah, and they're trying to eat my spleen. Fair's fair." Riley laughed as she kicked a drone off the ledge. "Humans cope through humor," she said, "even if we're dying." "Especially when we're dying," Maceo added. The corridor bent unnaturally. The walls breathed. "I hate this place," Holloway said flatly. "You hate everything," Maceo replied. "And yet I'm still here," Holloway muttered, taking point again. The team was battered but pushing through. No fancy psionics, no advanced alien tactics, just grit, guns, and gallows humor. They entered a chamber that took Riley's breath away. The ceiling arched like a cathedral made of bone and starlight. The walls shimmered with shifting patterns, organic circuits flowing like bloodstreams. "It's beautiful," Vrix whispered. It was also deadly. Each pulse of the walls sent a psychic ripple through their bodies. "This whole ship is alive," Riley said. "It knows we're here." The walls formed faces, screaming, whispering, watching. "We are walking through a nervous system," Vrix realized. "It feels every step." Still, they pressed on. The deeper they went, the more awe-inspiring and alien the architecture became. But wonder didn't erase the threat. "It's art," Riley said, "made by something that doesn't care if we die looking at it." They turned a corner. A drone stood, unmoving. Holloway raised his rifle. "Don't," Vrix hissed. "Don't think about shooting." Too late. The thought rippled through the team's link. The drone's eyes flashed. It screamed. The entire corridor lit up with pain, blinding, crushing, psychic pain. "Ah!" Maceo dropped his weapon, clutching his skull. Riley gritted her teeth, focused on blankness. "Clear your heads. Think of nothing." It passed, slowly. Dripping sweat, Holloway said, "That's new." "They feel your intent," Vrix said. "Our minds are weapons now, and they're listening." Riley looked ahead. "Then we better stop thinking like soldiers and start thinking like ghosts." And with that, they disappeared into the belly of the hive, minds blank, weapons ready, and humanity's madness guiding the way. The air stank of copper and rot, thick with humidity and the slow pulsing rhythm of something alive. The tunnels of the Kithar ship writhed and shifted, sinew walls clenching like muscles reacting to pain. Every step forward felt like crawling through the throat of some great beast. Riley led the way, plasma rifle up, eyes never still. Behind her, the squad followed tight, each movement echoing with stress and strain. Organic tendrils occasionally lashed from the walls, forcing them to duck and pivot. The ship wasn't just alive, it was watching. "They're adapting," muttered Private Callan, wiping sludge from his visor. "They know we're inside." "Good," Riley growled. "That means we're getting close." Traps triggered without warning. Acid vents, collapsing corridors, and even reanimated corpses of fallen Kithar warriors. Riley reacted with impossible precision. She rewired a neural node to force a bulkhead shut behind them. She rerouted power through a sticky cluster of alien tendrils to blind the enemy sensors. She placed makeshift explosives crafted from salvaged Kithar tech in the folds of the walls. The aliens in the group, skittering beside the humans, faltered. Panic danced in their eyes. One chittered. "This vessel is madness incarnate. You humans are mad to come here." Riley didn't stop moving. Madness? No. This is just another Tuesday. As the Kithar swarm pressed closer, attacks became unrelenting. Screams and bursts of gunfire echoed through corridors. Alien allies cowered behind cover, breaking protocol, struggling to fire. Dr. Vrix, a mantid-like biologist from the Terralus species, curled his legs under his thorax, trembling. "They should be dead, all of you. This defies every model. Why don't you fear them?" Riley paused long enough to stare him down. Dirt and blood streaked her face, eyes sharp. Try growing up dodging bullets in Chicago, dodging bills, and dodging hurricanes. Kithar don't scare me. But the horror, the insanity. "Welcome to Earth," Riley muttered, then dove back into the fight. Gunfire became distant static in Riley's mind. Her vision blurred for a moment, blood pumping in her ears louder than the shrieks of alien death. She was back home, the first Kithar strike on Earth. The shelter collapse, the screams. Her sister, 8 years old, crushed beneath rubble. Riley had dug with her bare hands, screaming, until soldiers dragged her back. That was the last time she cried. Back in the present, she blinked. Fire and viscera surrounded her. She stood. She had work to do. Her pain was a weapon now, sharpened into steel.
They reached a choke point, a chamber where 5 paths met and the floor writhed with tendrils. Drones swarmed from every angle. "They'll overrun us," Holloway said, calm but grim. "I'll hold them." "No," Riley snapped. "We all go." "Negative. You lead. That's what you do." He charged before she could argue, 2 grenades primed in each hand. As the drones closed in, Holloway roared, slamming into them. Light flashed, then silence. The team stared at the charred corridor, stunned. Even the alien allies stood still, wordless. Riley turned. Move. He didn't die for us to freeze. Every step after Holloway's death felt heavier, but Riley's pace never slowed. Her voice cut through grief and doubt. Holloway knew the cost. We honor him by finishing this. The squad, ragged and silent, followed. Even the alien warriors took strength from her certainty. Her leadership wasn't about speeches or glory. It was survival, direction, hope forged from blood and fire. At one point, a collapsing corridor threatened to bury them. Riley shoved a drone carcass into the breach and hauled her squad over its twitching limbs. "We lose one more," she barked. "I start handing out beatings." They believed her. The tunnels opened into a cathedral-like chamber. Veins pulsed beneath translucent floors. The walls wept fluid. Strange lights flickered like neurons firing. The Cathar hive ship breathed, thought, reacted. Every corridor led them deeper into something more alive than dead. Pheromonal messages hung in the air. Screeches came from no direction and all at once. "This ship," whispered Kellen, "it's thinking." "No," Riley corrected, "it's hunting." They felt it before they saw it. A pressure behind the eyes. Thoughts slipping, emotions unraveling. The Cathar hive mind pressed in like a tide. One soldier screamed and clawed at his helmet. "Guard your minds," Riley shouted. "Don't think, react." Her mental training kicked in. She slowed her breathing, focused on her boots, the grip of her rifle, the memory of her sister's laugh. She kept the swarm out. The aliens, unused to such pressure, crumbled. But the humans, fractured and individual, resisted in fragmented unity. Riley clenched her jaw. "You want inside our minds? You won't like what you find." The metal groaned beneath their boots as Riley led the team deeper into the world ship's twisted interior. The walls pulsed with a dull, sickly blue light, as if the ship itself breathed with the hive's rhythm. Every step forward was like wading through a swamp of invisible pressure. The psychic field thickened, wrapping around their minds like cold fingers. Dr. Vrick stumbled, clutching his temples. "It's getting stronger." "Ignore it," Riley growled, "one step at a time." Alien crew members dropped behind them, writhing on the floor, eyes white and mouths open in silent screams. The Cathar hive was fighting back, not with weapons, but with pure thought. It clawed into their fears, memories, doubts. Riley clenched her fists and kept walking. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. "Cowards run, fighters burn, and we burn bright." The central chamber loomed ahead, a cathedral of bone and light. Spires twisted up into the gloom like the ribcage of some dead god. The psychic pressure was nearly unbearable. Her team swayed, teeth gritted, sweat pouring down their faces. And yet, they pressed forward. Because they were human. And humans endure. The chamber shuddered. From the ceiling descended a form unlike anything they had faced. The Cathar Queen was not a creature. It was an idea made flesh. Massive, flowing like liquid shadow, crowned with dozens of writhing tendrils that pulsed with alien thoughts. Her voice bypassed their ears and struck straight into their consciousness. "You do not belong." The words were not sound. They were sensation, pressure, taste, memory. You burn your own kind. You sacrifice for no gain. You are irrational, dangerous, broken. Riley stood firm. And yet, here we are. The Queen leaned forward, not moving, yet growing closer. You are a flicker in the dark. We are the eternal tide. You could have fled. You chose this end. Images flooded Riley's mind. Earth burning, her mother's face as she boarded the last shuttle, the sound of screaming soldiers buried in swarm. But she did not flinch.
Riley smiled. It was not a brave smile. It was a tired, human one. The kind that knows fear and faces it anyway. "You think we came here to win?" she asked, kneeling and planting a charge at the base of a psychic spire. We came here to matter. The Queen recoiled. Illogical, inefficient. Exactly, Riley whispered, tossing another charge to Maceo, who caught it with a grin. Maceo whistled as he set his own. No one does crazy like humans. Riley looked up at the vast, pulsating avatar before her. We don't do this because it makes sense. We do it because someone has to. The Queen surged with fury, the walls around them shrieking with mental static. Riley placed the final charge, stood tall, and said, "Tell your hive, we remember our dead." The chamber erupted. Black-fleshed swarm beasts poured in from every tunnel, screeching and gnashing, driven by the Queen's command. The team spread out, weapons blazing. Riley gunned down a leaping beast, turned, and saw Dr. Vrix pinned. She dove, blasting the creature off him. Maceo whooped, "Now this is a send-off!" Explosions rocked the chamber as the swarm closed in. Maceo took a hit to the chest, staggered, then kept firing. "Riley, go!" he shouted. "Not without you! Somebody has to push the button!" His eyes were wide, but his smile never wavered. He slammed his fist onto the failsafe. The charges blinked red. "Now run!" Riley grabbed Dr. Vrix and dove into a side tunnel. Behind her, Maceo faced the oncoming flood with defiant laughter, the echo of it chasing them down the corridor. The last thing she saw before the tunnel collapsed behind her was Maceo flipping off the Queen. The explosion began as a whisper. Then, the chamber behind them bloomed in light and fury. The hive let out a psychic scream that tore through the galaxy. Tendrils of thought snapped, and across the stars, Cathar units faltered and died. The world ship shuddered, then cracked apart from the inside. Fire spread through the neural corridors. The Queen's avatar collapsed into itself, writhing in confusion and disbelief. She could not understand it. Sacrifice without reward. Bravery without logic. Humanity. Riley and Dr. Vrix stumbled out of the emergency shaft, coughing, covered in soot and blood. The sky above was dark, lit by the dying fires of the world ship. They collapsed onto the dirt of the outer moon. Silence. Then, the ship behind them fractured in half, falling in pieces to the ground. Dr. Vrix groaned. Did we win? Riley stared at the burning wreckage. I don't know. She pulled out Maceo's detonator, still warm in her hand. She gripped it tightly. He did. In the distance, Allied ships blinked into view, drawn by the hive's death scream. The tide had turned. But for Riley, the victory was laced with ghosts. The dead had no voices. So, the living would carry them. Because humans remember, and humans fight, even when it doesn't make sense. Especially then. The Cathar world ship burned as it fell, a searing wound across the sky. It split into fragments that screamed into the swirling atmosphere of the gas giant below. One final explosion painted the clouds in unnatural light, purple fire rolling over emerald clouds, then darkness. Every coalition ship went silent. From orbit, the Allied fleets watched in collective awe. What began as a desperate gambit ended with the unthinkable, the death of the swarm. The psychic weight that had choked every living mind since the Cathar arrived began to lift. It was like someone finally opened a sealed room. On board the Defiance, Admiral Tessara gripped the railing, breath caught in her throat. They did it! Those insane bastards did it! Humanity had gambled everything. 3 stealth cruisers, a nuclear core, and a crew with nothing to lose. The plan was madness. The success? Even more so. As the Cathar world ship imploded into the oceanic depths of the gas giant, shockwaves pulsed through the system. Communication relays blinked back to life. Fleet cohesion returned. It was over. At least for now. Some cried, some cheered, and some, like Riley, just stared. In the stillness after victory, there was no roaring celebration, only the haunted silence of survivors who had seen the impossible. The war was not won, but a giant had fallen. and the galaxy would remember who brought it down.
Excerpt from the Xenopsychological Archive of Trenzalore, entry number 3982, author Dr. Vrix. Human Psychology, Why Suicide Missions Work When It's Tuesday. Dr. Vrix adjusted his ocular fronds and stared at the holoslate, still baffled. "They charged it," he muttered. "A world-ending entity? And they charged it." The report was a formal request from the Grand Council of Biocognition. They wanted answers, so he gave them his best approximation of the truth. Humans, he explained, are not biologically inclined toward balance. Where other species see risk and retreat, humans see purpose. Fear is not a deterrent, but a stimulant. Logic is not their compass. Emotion is. He described Riley. Her heartbeat stayed steady under pressure that would rupture a Torkin's cortex. Her comrades laughed before impact. One of them made a final toast to a dog back on Earth. "They don't fight because they believe they'll win," Vrix wrote. "They fight because someone has to." To his species, that kind of behavior was statistical nonsense. But to humans, it was Tuesday. The report concluded, "We study entropy. They live through it, and somehow they thrive in it." Dr. Vrix saved the file and sighed. He wasn't sure if his people would believe it, but they needed to. Because the humans weren't just allies, they were survivors, and they were just getting started. The chamber was polished, formal, and alien. Riley stood awkwardly as the coalition counselor draped a silver sigil over her neck. The crowd, a mosaic of species and uniforms, clapped. Riley squinted under the lights. "For valor beyond reason," the counselor proclaimed. Riley smirked. Should have given it to Holloway. He flew the damn bomb. Whispers followed her comment, but she didn't care. Riley wasn't there for praise. She was tired, burned, and missing half her squad. The metal felt cold, pointless. Outside the chamber, reporters waited. She ignored them. A young cadet tried to take her picture. She waved him off. "You want a hero? Go dig up the wreckage." She didn't sleep that night. Honor wasn't the reward. Survival was, and she had no idea what to do with that. The barracks smelled the same: coffee, ozone, and sweat. Riley walked in, the metal stuffed in a sock. No one saluted. That's how she liked it. She poured herself a cup of sludge black brew and took a long sip. It was terrible. Perfect. The war map glowed on the central wall, new red flares blinking. Command was already plotting the next strike. "They don't stop, do they?" Sergeant Lin muttered. Riley shook her head. "Neither do we." She sat down, boots kicked up, and stared at the map. Her mind played through scenarios, entry points, blast yields. She didn't realize her hands were shaking until she spilled some coffee. It didn't matter. There was always another fight. Names flickered on the memorial screen. Holloway, Tran, Mendez, others. Each name a piece of Riley's soul carved away. She leaned against the wall, hand over her chest. The metal pressed against her skin through the sock. A cruel reminder. Riley remembered their laughter before the final drop. The way Holloway joked about naming the bomb Daisy. "Say hi to Daisy," he'd grinned, then vanished in fire. She clenched her jaw. This victory wasn't clean. It wasn't proud. It was grief and grit welded together. And still, she'd do it again, because someone had to.